Bible underneath my right hand. I made it out of tight jams. Guns all on my nightstand. My life should be on Viceland. My fingertips to hold the marijuana aroma. High school, I went to school high, still got my diploma. He got riddled and left alone for some Skittles in Arizona. Bible underneath my right hand. I made it out of tight jams.
Uncreative Radio, I am here with Josh Simmons, literally the first black city commissioner of Coral Springs.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Josh.
Since the inception of Coral Springs. How long has Coral Springs been a city?
Since 1963.
Okay, so since 1963, you are the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I had the terrible task of being the first. I don't know if you remember Chappelle show, and he was like, never be the first, black person to do something. So I won't say that wasn't in my mind when I was.
Was there other black people that ran before you?
Yeah, there was I think one gentleman actually, and he ran like 3 times.
So there was another guy.
Yeah,
just one other dude.
Never got through the finish line. Yeah.
Why do you think it was you? Like, because this was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was your time? Why was it? Why did you think? Because Coral Springs, like Florida, Florida's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like we're South Florida, so we're more like the North, but there's still parts of it that are like
Coral Springs was created by Coral Ridge Properties, and they were big in Fort Lauderdale. And so when things started to get integrated in Fort Lauderdale, people started to move
right
out and further away. And
right.
So that city kind of still has its reputation of being a predominantly Caucasian city. However, for the first time ever, we are now a majority city.
Why do you think they were like, yo, Josh Simmons, this is our guy, I want to get him on city commission? And was that a big deal? Was it an easy race, or was it difficult? Or?
I mean, I ran against an incumbent. I mean, he was he was known as the grandfather of Coral Springs.
Oh,
he was
good.
like 80 something years old. And he told me how much I spoke well. And
okay,
I'm sure you've heard that a lot.
Like the surprising.
You're not one of those.
You
black
don't
people.
sound black.
right, exactly. Man, I just hustled, man. Like I hustled. I mean, I've had a life where I've always learned how to work, and if I want it, I got to go get it.
Why get into public service?
My mom raised me that way. She always raised me to help people, be there for people. I feel like my life, has it's just always been for the people. Like, whatever these hands can do to help those in need, that's where they're going to be. And so I wanted to get into the political arena. I have my bachelor's in political science, and I was just so fascinated by what makes people vote, by what makes them move. So
what do you think makes people vote? Because that, in 2016, you like me were like, he's running. Well, this is gonna be hilarious.
Yeah.
Hillary's just gonna sweep him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I campaigned very hard for the secretary. I got to be on stage with her and at rallies and things like that. I was surprised like everybody else. But what makes people vote? I think it's multifaceted. You hear all these pundits all the time saying, "Oh, people vote with their pocketbooks and different things like that." But I tell black folks all the time is we don't have room to vote with our emotions.
Yes.
We don't have that. We have to be more cerebral about it.
Right.
We have to make sure that we do what's best for us to give us an opportunity to get those changes that we need. I mean, everybody likes to say that, President Obama didn't do enough for black folks. And to me, I just wanted him to be good. I didn't want him to have a scandal. I didn't want it to be so bad that it was like, we'll never get another one again.
And he did that. Like he no scandals in 8 years.
Yeah.
No
except
illegal.
for the tan suit. That really upset.
Tan suit. Everyone's
really
like,
upset folks. Yeah.
People did not like the tans. But I think he redeemed that with the singing.
Exactly. Right. He pivoted really well.
But no scandals, 8 years, and just like the most upstanding, like no illegal shenanigans.
Right.
Just a good, and he was such a great,
a
great, like, you were proud
role model,
for him.
father,
Yes.
just person, like
you weren't like cringing that this dude was representing your everything that you got.
Right.
Like we travel a lot, so we'll go to London or another country, and everyone's like, literally they look at you like you're an American.
You're an American.
Donald Trump. You know, you're like, no. He doesn't represent. Oh man, you know.
My wife and I, when we, since 2016, we've traveled a little bit, and anytime people ask us where we're from, and we say Florida on top of that,
forget it.
They're like, oh,
you're absolutely crazy.
Right.
What do you think it is about Florida that really, like, people just do some crazy stuff here?
The sun. I think it's the sun and the humidity, man. I mean, last week I think I checked the temperature and it was like 83 degrees outside.
Yeah.
But the humidity makes it feel like it's 98, and I'm like,
yeah. We need a winter that suppresses the crazy. Like, I'm not gonna go eat somebody's face if it's like 20 degrees outside.
Right, when everybody thought the zombie apocalypse was gonna happen. Right, exactly.
My goodness.
It's Florida just has that crazy political nature. I mean, Florida usually goes with the president almost every year, except for 2000, and I think 2000 really just kind of set the standard when between Gore and Bush.
Right, and Bush,
so
right.
that was just such a mess, and we
and Florida, and that was a really crazy one. And then now Florida, it goes with the president, but it's still so close. Florida is such an important. It could go Barack Obama one, it could go Trump one. It's so odd.
It's a lot of people here. Third most populous state in the union, right? And you just have so many people. You have, people move here after they retire. And then you have a lot of influx from the Caribbean islands and things like that. It's just such a weird mix of folks. And so our politics are just all over the place.
All over. What do you think about people? Because the presidential elections are a massive deal. I mean, this November, I can't even think of what. I mean, this is just such a massive election.
It seems like it gets bigger and bigger every year, right?
Every year, but like those local elections, people tend to just like who
Christmas tree it.
Yeah, right. And it's just kind of you're just like. After it's like I vote for Hillary, and then who are these judges? Who is this city?
This doesn't matter.
Whatever. What do you think that is about people not realizing that like people like you, a city commissioner, you guys are the ones that are actually helping set some of these laws and rules and regulations and new agendas in the city that you actually live in.
Yeah,
and people are just like meh.
Yeah, I will say that. I'll answer the question, but first I'll say that I think people are waking up a little bit more now.
Right.
And they are understanding the power of local government because, if your trash doesn't get picked up for about a month,
right,
you're going to be upset. And I say that, I'm not trying to be funny, but like we deal with a lot of issues when it comes to trash.
Right.
But it's just like, the things that help your life operate on the day to day.
Right.
Those are the things we control as a city commission. And, your water, right? We make sure your police departments, right? Your fire departments, like all of that stuff is running to protect your well-being. I tell people all the time, if you really care about your home, you need to know the people that are representing you.
Your home and you.
Right. Why does it cost me $1 million to put a new AC in? Or why does it cost me $1 million to put a fence in?
Right.
Why when I go running, I'm tripping over like roots from through the sidewalk. Just literally, your everyday well-being is controlled by your city commission.
Right.
And and I think people are starting to really realize that. And for me in 2018, that was a pretty heavy gubernatorial year here in Florida. It was like one of the wildest we've seen.
I mean,
the turnout was it was the best turnout in like
he lost by what was it?
I think like 50,000 votes or something, or 100,000 votes.
It's crazy. Yeah. And you like look at somebody's Instagram followers and you're like, yo, man, and
1 million people in Broward didn't vote.
Yeah, and that could have been our who knows?
Been
our guy.
Who knows, right? But then you also had the state legislature had all these different constitutional amendments that were on there. So basically, by the time this thing was done, the ballot was 5 pages long.
Good
right?
God.
And I was on page like 4 at the bottom, like on the left. And so, but that's the type of things I think about that makes me hustle even harder because I know that I am jockeying for your attention.
Right.
So for me, although I was running for office in Coral Springs, I felt like I had to compete with everybody's name on that ballot.
100%.
Everybody. Because I need you to remember my name.
Right.
Long enough to bubble it in.
Right. I hope you saw me on the streets enough. I had my flyers enough.
Right.
So, you got a good name too.
Yeah.
Joshua Simmons.
You don't know what I am.
Yeah. That's right. You're like, is he? Just go for it.
So it's fun. And it's funny, right? Like people will be like, oh, I've heard about you.
You're Joshua Simmons.
right, exactly. I mean, I've heard that I'm Jewish. I've heard that I could be
Jewish all the
Italian.
time. I get Jewish. Like, everyone's like, Joshua Miller, I was expecting a little white Jewish boy to show up. I'm like,
Right.
nope, just black guy from Alabama.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. So,
Yeah,
right in the middle of the country. So it's very interesting that, when I talk to people that want to run for office and things like that, I try to like when they get off the phone with me, they're like, whew, that was a lot.
Right.
So I'm like, yo, you got to go hard. Like,
right.
I grew up playing sports and different things like that.
Yeah.
And that just that work ethic, I feel like in the political arena, it's the same mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's still you're competing, right? But you're competing for attention, especially when attention spans are the shortest it's ever been in human history. So it's like you gotta hustle, like
Right.
you gotta work.
Do you feel like all politicians have to be corrupt to be successful? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, people say like, you have to get your hands dirty or something, or like there's all this stuff that you don't know. Do you believe that, or do you believe that like? Because to me, when I think about like Hillary, like this woman like worked her entire life in public service. You know what I mean? Like if she was like a super evil person.
Yeah.
Like, why would she even get into this? Why not
Right.
just get into like oil and put dumping oil in
Right.
Kenya and you know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly,
Like,
yeah.
and just for the profits. Like, do you think like, do you think that you have to like be willing to like, well, if I'm gonna vote for your bill, you're gonna, I'm gonna blackmail you and to be able to get your thing passed or whatever.
Right.
Do you think there's a part of it or?
I think what happens is every elected official depending on how ambitious you are, a door will be open to you. And if you choose to walk through that door, you can't return.
Right.
So
Right.
some people sacrifice their morals or their dignity for power.
And you see, like Lindsey Graham, this is like, and Ted Cruz, and all these people that were like, you're
Dude,
talking to, if someone,
dog, he talked about your father, your wife,
and
like-
you're like, oh, I hate this guy, and then now he's like, well, Trump is the best, and you're like, what?
I'm seeing red the whole time. No pun intended. I'm
Right.
seeing red the whole time I see you. I don't
Right.
care. It's fade
It
on
doesn't-
sight. Like
right.
But
But like,
you talked about my wife.
that's
man.
it. Like, done deal. Like
Yeah.
nothing's coming back. And so I see Lindsey Graham, and I think like, what do they have on this guy that literally makes you flip flop? Like, is his wife just like, you piece of shit? Like, did you forget?
So you take Senator Cruz, the current president, because I barely say his name.
Right.
The current president not only talked about his wife, but also said his father helped assassinate JFK.
That's crazy.
Like I don't know like what more does someone
Right.
need to say to you
Right.
for you to be like, you know what? Right.
Do you
But
think
I think he recognized that he was going to have a very competitive race in Texas, so he did what he needed to do to keep his seat. What we're seeing is a lot of people
Keep
that
that power.
become so enthralled with their power, their position, or their status that they have literally sacrificed their dignity.
So you and like we see you on television. We have records on television of what you said and what this dude said against your family. Your father assassinated.
The funniest thing they did was put up a billboard in Texas, in his hometown, with some of the quotes from the current president.
Oh, that's good.
And then with
That's good.
with Senator Graham, I think he has a sexual orientation that will go against everything he stood for
100.
in the Senate.
And people, they've got something.
Yep, they have something
they
on him.
got something.
And the thing is, it's not a problem, obviously with his sexual orientation. It's the fact that he's done so much harm to the LGBTQ community.
Right.
That is the problem.
And that's the problem. And
Yeah.
you can't sit there and be gay and
Yeah.
then try to bash them at the
Yeah,
same time and vote against these laws
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so I think they definitely have something on him. I mean,
it's wild to see. Do you think his base is that dumb? Like they're just like, oh, his father assassinated JFK. Oh, he's not an American citizen. He's from Kenya. Like his base is like, yeah, his base. They're like he assassinated. Like, or do you think they're just like, well, whatever?
So I won't say that his. I don't want to say
they believe
everybody.
crazy shit.
I won't say everybody in his base is dumb. I think that there are just a lot of people that are looking for things to believe in.
Right.
And it's like the current president just gives chum to people to kind of
Right.
Red meat for the base. Right.
Right.
I think other folks are just like, you know what, this is fun.
Right.
this is fun because none of this stuff, these words, these policies don't affect them.
It's kind of just like trolling. Like he wrote the other day on Twitter, it was like a few weeks ago. He was like, you probably saw this. He was like, oh, Obama committed the biggest crime in human history. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows about it. And the reporters are like, what is it? He's like, everybody already knows about it. I don't need to say it. Yeah. You're like, he's just trying to create this.
He creates a reality. That's what he does. He shapes reality, and unfortunately,
and people go for it. Mm-hmm. And people go for it.
I think it fits into a narrative that some folks want to believe in. Some of the worst of us want to believe in, and so he stokes that. And other folks, MLK always said that he was more concerned with the silent white moderates.
And that's what you see. Mm-hmm. You see the silent. It's like, I don't know what's worse, like someone that voted for Trump or someone that didn't vote. Mm-hmm. And you go, I don't even know. Like on one hand,
I would say it's equal. I actually had someone ask me this question. They were like, what do you say? And do you think if someone doesn't vote, does that help, the GOP? And I said, well, listen, they factor that into their game plan.
100%.
They actually strategize on suppressing
this percentage,
the vote.
Right? Mm-hmm. Not voting
by mucking it up, by just making it so just annoying and just muddled that you're just like, I'm turned off. I'd rather not. Right. Tamper down the excitement, and every non-vote is a vote for them.
Right, because if voting was,
their base will vote 100%.
100%. If voting was easy, I just couldn't see another Republican candidate ever. If voting they could do. I mean, if you had the day, if voting was a holiday and everyone just had the day off, so they didn't have to work, that would obviously encourage more people to vote. Yeah. That's just a very simple law that could be passed to make it better for people to be able to vote. And you see some of those things that don't happen because that vote, the whole goal is not having as many people vote.
Right, exactly.
Making it more difficult, cutting the polls off at 6, because most minorities
are working
and don't have the luxury of I'll be working the home today, you know what I mean, or whatever. So, so I think that's super interesting, especially as we, march to November, and during COVID and all this stuff where people are just being inside and then encouraging them to go out.
I mean, look, back to one of your original points is that's why it's so important about your local elections, because a lot of these people that get up to DC, for the most part, kind of start out locally. Or they become a part of the state legislature and work their way up.
Right. And
if we aren't paying attention to these folks, then you're gonna wake up and be like, what happened, right? So again, I think people are starting to wake up a little bit more, really understanding how to piece this thing together so that we can, right the ship. And I hope everybody gets their vote by mail-in, and you don't have to necessarily mail it back. You can take it to a physical voting precinct and just turn in your ballot.
Right.
But just get it, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you can early vote. You don't have to do it on that day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think it is about power? Like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, I would rather just bow to this dude than give up my seat. Because my seat, power.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about power? And then looking to the state that the world is in right now. What do you think it is about power and police and authority and not giving that up? And because I think a lot of what the police are, they're beating people that are just I'm just trying to go to my bus stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to get home.
Yeah.
And so they're wilding because they feel like you're trying to take away our power. And we had power over you, over this group, and they feel like you're taking it. So, it's like when you're watching a basketball game and LeBron is just destroying. Yeah. And it's 30. He's they're up by 40.
Yeah.
What does the other team do? They start just pushing, fighting, just because we're losing.
Right.
And forget this. You know what I mean?
Right.
What do you think it is about power?
Power corrupts, absolutely, right? And it's a drug. It really is. It's a drug, right? It's a drug. I will liken it to this. In 2016, when Secretary Hillary Clinton came to Coral Springs, and I got to be on stage with her and introduce her, give an 8-minute speech. You see all the cameras, the lights. You got all the hundreds of people on the floor. They're all staring at you. You say one word, and they go, ah.
Right.
You say another, and they go, boo. That's powerful.
It's a thing.
Yeah, you can feel it. And, and when I walked off stage, I was like, whew. It's like, that's dangerous.
Right.
I was like, I want more. I was like, that's dangerous. You know, you say one word and all these people go, yeah. Like, it's like, you know, like, that's why call and repeats in songs are always so powerful, because you're getting that feedback, that energy. And, you know, I think for me, what has made me successful so far is that I know who I am. And I've met a lot of elected officials that don't know who they are, but they found their way into elected office. And so then that's all who they become. It's just an elected official, not the person. And so, you know, I'm able to kind of squash that away when I start to feel it, because I know who I am and I know what I'm doing in this, and I try to keep focused on what the mission is. And, you know, but if you don't know who you are, if you're not centered with yourself, that power shapes who you are. And the next thing you know, it's like trying to detach a leech from you, or trying to detach, you know, something out of your soul that you can't remove. And you'll do anything you can to keep it there, because it's all who you are.
It sucks because like power could be flipped in a completely different way. If Lindsey Graham was just like, look, guys, I'm gay and I have done like horrible things to this community, and I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn it around.
The news coverage would be...
He would just, his PR coverage, and if he started being a real advocate, sincere about what he has done and turned the corner, I mean, he could... It could be the biggest redemption story ever.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I say this all the time. You know, I like... You know, you take all of the protests and everything that's happening right now, centered on, you know, police brutality and ending racism. You know, this could be the current president's moment. Like, you know, like that's like political gold.
It's gold, right?
But instead, you want to march through the street and like
he
for
could,
a photo op.
Yeah, he could turn it, but if you want to march through the street, throw some tear gas so you can hold a Bible upside down.
God saying go left, and you're like, I'm just gonna zigzag all the way over to the right.
What do you? I mean, we have seen. I mean, my God, like, I mean, I don't even know. I can't even do the list with you from Emmett Till, Trey, and just
all the way until
Rodney,
George Floyd. Right? I mean, we just got news the other day about somebody that in Tulsa that died. I think Oklahoma that died last week or last year or something like that.
Right. What do you think, like, so like this has happened so much. The protests aren't new. This is not our first. It's not our 150th protest. What's different about this? Do you feel like black people or people in general are fed up and they're looking for actual change? Like, what do you think this one is? Because, you know, like, I don't know the difference. Maybe COVID plays a part in it. People are inside, they're not at work, and they're just charged up. You know, Breonna Taylor was like shot in her own bed, you know, sleeping in her own house, you know, dreaming about whatever as an EMT, you know. And, you know, there was no protest. There was no global... People in Australia weren't marching for... What happened with George Floyd that kind of brought up all that Trayvon pain and Rodney pain, and what made it explode?
I think it you know, COVID did play a part in that, because I think you know, if you think about pre-COVID, you know, we all ran around, right? Like, you know, all throughout the week, and just, you know, your energies are spent, you know, you're tired. We've been in the house for a while, right? And so we got a lot of pent up energy. And I think it was just exhausting at that point. I think when we got the video of George Floyd, and I got to be honest with you, I haven't even watched the whole video. I can't. It's like I can't even watch those videos anymore.
You know what it is.
Because, you know, I watched the Ahmaud Arbery when, you know, he was fighting for his life, and those images still play in my head.
Right.
And it's just, I think it's just a number of grief, rage, sadness, and just plain outright tired.
Right.
I want to study it more because it is fascinating, because a black issue has never went global, right?
That's what I thought was crazy.
When have we ever had all 50 states in the union protest?
Never.
I mean, South Dakota,
right.
Whitefish, Montana.
Right. And I'm seeing New Zealand. I'm like, what do you... All of you in New Zealand are protesting for this thing in America. Like,
and I want to see what's happening in London too, because they got a lot of racial issues they haven't squared with either.
100.
So
that's an old guard. That's an old guard.
To see that uprising too is just, I mean, it's incredible. And I think you have the power of social media. You have a lot of us that have matured now, right? You know, you have the teenagers that really haven't been in school, so they got nothing but time. You got our, you know, us working folks now at, you know, the 25 to 30, 40. You know, we have understood all of this now. We've lived, and we're all just like, nah, we got to go. And it's just like, you know, keep the momentum going. I think the most important thing out of all of this, though, too, is that, you know, our white allies are having conversations with us now.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz give me a
She's
call.
Great.
And
She's great.
Congressman Ted Deutsch. They both called me and was just like, hey, talk to me. And I was like, look.
And have you got that call before?
About other things, but
right,
you know,
but not
like,
specifically about this. No one's calling you last year. Be like, hey, I want to talk about police brutality.
Yeah,
This is what we could do here. To,
yeah,
you know?
no, never gotten that call. And you know, and I could be one of those people that are like, well, where you been, and blah blah blah.
Sure,
it's not important. That doesn't move the conversation
right.
forward. You know, for what? And you know, I'm glad you're here now.
Right.
And so for me, you know, I explained to him. I said, you know, black folks, we stand up for everybody. Whenever there's an issue, we stand up for everybody. We'll go hard in the paint for everybody.
Because we've seen it. Because we're a part of it. Right.
But then when it comes to our issues, generally it's like,
right.
You know, so it is fascinating that so many of our allies are waking up and being like, okay, enough is enough with this. Enough is enough with this, right? I mean,
it's like even white people are like, yo, come on, man.
Like, wow.
Come on.
Well, because, you know,
dude was jogging, come on.
You know, I mean, right? Like, you know, and what I also tried to explain about the Ahmaud Arbery situation is that is literally a scene out of a movie.
100%.
And just like what we've been taught about our whole lives as black people is like, you can literally be hunted down by two white dudes in a truck and killed and dragged off.
And people see that in a movie and they think, well, that's a crazy movie. And we always see that it's like, this is real. Fruitville Station, this stuff is like real. That's real life for people.
Right.
Do you think white people, like Aziz Ansari has that great line in his stand-up. He's like, it's not racist just because white people just now figured it out. You know, it's been racist the whole time. Do you think white people are figuring out like, whoa, this has been happening for a long time?
I think we haven't seen enough talk about this, but I think it's like that second wave of Bloody Sunday. Because remember, Bloody Sunday was effective because it was Sunday night. People were in front of their TVs, right? It was televised nationally. And people were white folks were sitting down eating dinner, and they were literally turning on TV, eating their food, their TV dinner.
And then you're like,
and you see John Lewis getting clubbed over the head, you know.
And you can't say, oh, these people are doing something bad.
Right.
It's very clear. Yeah. It was very clear on Bloody Sunday that they weren't doing anything. They're walking across the bridge, right? And Bull Connor unleashed hell on them, right? And then you have like Breonna Taylor. I mean, you know, how do you have, you know, movies and TV shows have glorified, you know, those raids and the policing profession to the point that it can't be criticized. You know, how do you justify going in to someone's home, breaking in, not announcing yourself at all, and then you have her boyfriend try to defend himself because he doesn't know what's happening.
I would do the same thing. I'm waking up,
bullets are flying. What do you do?
I'm firing back.
You don't know who it is,
right? And so, you know, I just, the fact that there still hasn't been justice in that is a problem. You know, I tweet every day just about that. You know, saying, hey, I'm tweeting the governor, everything. I'm like, yo, y'all need to charge these people.
Nobody has been fired.
Yeah.
Not even fired.
Not even put on paid leave.
Right. People, they're just there.
Yeah.
And nothing's happened.
Yeah.
And it got brushed over. And that's what I feel like too. Just like, I like that people are taking to the streets. I like that people are protesting. You've been in a few protests now. They're happening everywhere.
Yeah.
What's the consensus of the protest? What do you see people? Who is out there?
I mean, everybody. People that usually stay on the sidelines.
That's crazy to me.
It is because
that's crazy.
It is.
That's a good crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know, and another thing I've been saying is that, you know what, now is the time for you to listen with the goal of understanding, not just hearing words, but understand, because we've been trying to paint the black experience, the black American experience.
We try to use movies. Centuries. We got spoken word. We got songs.
You don't want us to protest, but you want us to protest peacefully. Then you don't want us to do this. You don't want to do that. We tried kneeling. That was a problem.
That's the issue, because it's like,
we're not second-class citizens.
If you look at the things, I post this on Instagram, it's like, well, I guess we shouldn't be outside wearing a hoodie and put that up, but we shouldn't be running during the daytime either. We shouldn't sleep in our own beds, and we shouldn't look at construction sites. The list is like, well, what do you the NFL said?
Bird watching.
Yeah, but you can't bird watch.
Again, talking to the congresswoman, I was like, we can't even watch birds, and that's like the most non-black thing you can do. Is watch birds.
We're trying to just do your thing, like, but yeah, it's like, and it to the point, it's wild to me that like you have people that cannot see it or understand it when it's right in front of your face, and I think that people are obviously like fed up, but we're looking for people to really understand what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think social media plays a huge part in it because people are at home. 40 million people are unemployed or whatever it is.
46.
You know, and they're on social. What do you see on social? Just like TVs on Bloody Sunday, we see this everywhere.
Yep.
Just example after example of this cop, this cop, this cop. You got people like Sean King that are just like, you know, just, I mean,
throwing it out there,
being
right?
the best megaphone ever. Like, I mean, that guy is just incredible.
Yeah.
And then, but you people don't know what to do, and people don't know how to really respond. So everyone's retweeting stuff and sharing that out there, which I think is a good thing. But I think it always makes me think like your Instagram feed, like probably now and last week was just, I mean, just blacked out. Just everything you read was like, there's something that somebody did this.
A lot of people sharing stories too.
Yeah, a lot of people sharing stories that something happened to them. I saw a story about Chappelle when he was educating somebody on Twitter. But like, I can't do, like, the thing for me is like, but this is not what Mitch McConnell's feed looks like.
Oh,
Like,
of course not.
This is not what, like,
Maybe
some filters, like maybe some of it gets in there.
Yeah. You know, I think because it's hit so many people.
It's big.
And yeah, I just obviously at that point, you know, you have these people that have been in politics for forever and a day, so you know they know how to ignore things. You kind of build up
and you go, oh, this is gonna pass. We've been here before,
right? And so that's why, you know, immediately I was like, conversation needs to be towards legislation.
Yeah,
you know, we need to codify this. This needs to be put into documents because, you know, this will fade, and that's what they're waiting on. That's what a lot of people that haven't said anything are waiting on, and we can't let it go.
Because if this isn't,
we're in what, day 14, 15, like, and there's still protests going on,
right?
Like, you know, I can't wait to get to DC to go be on Black Lives Matter lane.
100%. Exactly. I mean, and I thought legislation like that, changing that name, and you see stuff like that, it's like that is where we have to go. The only language that the GOP understands, they don't understand this language. They don't understand Black Lives Matter. They can only hear that we're saying only Black Lives Matter. That's all that they can't even. The only language they understand is votes.
Right.
They don't understand anything else.
Right.
And if we don't figure out how to transition all this movement, this frustration and anger that we felt for years, and our fathers and their fathers have felt for years, if we don't translate that to November,
right,
to the South Carolina, is that where Graham's state is? If we don't transition that to Mitch McConnell state,
Kentucky,
then like we're gonna miss the mark.
Well, you know, I think it's you know, I think you try to do what you can, right? And it's like chess. Yeah. And so maybe you can't get those big pieces that you want, but you can knock off a couple of pawns. And so that's at that local level. So that's you know, working with reforming and changing and reallocating resources from the police department into more community services and things like that. You know, that's making sure your state legislatures and stuff like that take up some types of action or something like that. You know, you gotta work this thing at every single angle that you have. And so you got to make sure that when, you know, I think about how it would be in my city if I wasn't sitting there.
Yes.
You know,
right.
Would we have this task force that I've put together to crack open our police department and look where we can make changes and review our use of force procedures and ban chokeholds, ban tear gas, and different 100%. Things like that, you know, and, you know, we're going to have a conversation, and to their credit, they're willing to have the conversation. And,
that's good.
You know, I got some more community folks, and we're going to sit down at a table, and we're going to go through a list of like 30 items and work something out for each and every one of them, you know.
What do you think it is about, like, because I thought one thing that was really cool, and I don't know how I feel about it, but you got corporations, everybody, Nickelodeon, like on air.
You log into Call of Duty. But 2K, some of the most crazy things we said on Call of Duty.
Oh my God. Yeah. You got 2K, you got Netflix said something. Everyone's saying something. Amazon said something. Amazon said we're going to suspend the facial recognition technology for a year.
But why for a year?
I don't know. I was like
why not period?
What period? IBM said we're out of this business. Like, we're not doing this anymore.
Right.
So I thought that was the move. But then it's like, what do you think of corporations that are now saying? I mean, I have never seen corporations like Netflix say Black Lives Matter.
Yeah,
I mean, I was blowing my mind.
It's still fascinating because I don't understand what the catalyst was for everybody to just catch on, because we've been seeing
Black Lives Matter.
Walter
is not
Scott
new.
was running away and was obliterated, running away. You know, Laquan McDonald was dead already while they were still shooting him.
Right.
You know, it's not like we haven't seen these horrific black deaths on. I I think it's because, from what I understand, is because when the officer was on George Floyd's neck, he showed nothing in his face.
Zero. Hands in his pockets.
Like he was just chilling and on this guy's neck.
And just knowing, like, look, man, I'm gold.
Yeah.
I'm gold.
Yeah.
I'm untouchable.
Just hanging on this guy's neck. Knows
he's being filmed.
Right. Those companies, again, I know people are like, well, all that's cute. Let me see what your, board looks like and things like that. We got to maybe give them a little bit of time. And
it's just an amazing first step.
It is, right?
It's an amazing.
And see what changes they really implement.
Right.
I hope that gives more, black and brown folks in these companies the opportunity to speak up, though, and say something like, "Yo, this is happening. This person, this and that," instead of having a fear of retaliation. I think we're just done. We're just done. We're done. We're done with this. We're done. I think you have a lot more folks. It's almost like kind of like the 80s and 90s again, when black people love to be black people and they just love
and that's what
themselves.
you
I
could
think
feel
we're
that.
back into that.
Yeah,
and it's not saying that because you're not black, you're not important or anything like that.
Not at all.
It's just like, look, man,
There's
400 years of slavery. Then you had about 100 years of segregation, and then you roll segregation right into Jim Crow, and now that ends. And so when you really look at what freedom is for black people in America, it's only been about 60 years.
Yeah, and in that 60 years, this is what we have endured.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you think about that, like, people have to understand that, like, the language of, and you have to be willing, and that's what a lot of people aren't willing to. You have to be willing to understand Black Lives Matter.
That's why I said listen with the goal to understand, because this, if I tell people, I said this to our deputy chiefs and our chief of police, and I said, police brutality has been so ingrained in the Black American experience that we make jokes about it.
Yes.
We make jokes about it. It's in our music. It's in our movies.
Right.
And our movies that we produce. Right. 100%. What does that say?
What does that say? Think about it. And that, from NWA till now, and before, I just feel like people have to be willing to understand that there is a certain group of people that is being beat to hell and killed by cops. That's the group of people we're focused on and talking about right now. And people have to be willing to understand that. I think having white allies has been awesome to ask questions and stuff, but I was thinking about, like, what white people can do. Some of my white friends have been like, well, Joshua, what do we do? And I'd love to hear your answer to this. But one of the biggest things for me is, like, have conversations with other white people.
That's what I said. I said, talk to your folks, man. Talk to your people, man. You see somebody say something crazy, like, don't let it go.
And that's the thing, too. If you see something that is crazy, like, you're going to be able to stand up to the cops more than I can.
Right.
I could get involved and get myself killed.
Right, exactly.
If you do it, that's not going to happen to you. So, like, one of the biggest things you could do as a white person is just standing up for, don't text your friends. Don't call your buddy like, oh, man, I saw something crazy that happened today. Yeah. No, get involved and go, because you can do something.
Yeah.
And then also have conversations with your white buds.
Yeah.
Like y'all need to go.
Yeah, and like, no, that's not right. And it's so funny. You see a lot of, like, the Gen Z kids, they're, like, posting on TikTok and social media talking about how they're, like, no longer talking to their grandpa or grandma or something like that because of X, Y, and Z. I was like, that's amazing. I hate that that's happening to your family, but that's also amazing at the same time. That's just what it is. Is like, you've probably turned a blind eye at some point, and you know what? That's fine, but at least now you understand turning a blind eye could get someone killed.
Did you see that Kaepernick, Kaepernick started to kneel. Just
minding. He sat down first.
He sat down.
And then the Green Beret told him, yo, that's disrespectful.
The Green Beret said, that's disrespectful, sit down. It'd be better if you kneel.
Yeah.
And so he was like, thanks, military officer from the Green Beret. Yeah. I will take your advice. Thank you for educating me. I will do this instead because I don't want to disrespect you.
And for some reason, the opposition ignores that, and I don't understand why. It's like you could say that, and it's just like, he shouldn't be kneeling. And
right. But in the NFL was just like, he's peacefully protesting, and they don't like that. You can't do that. We're gonna make this about the flag now. Like if he's burning the flag, I could get the correlation.
But people wear bikinis and draws and like
all about the flag. You got people have like toilet paper as the flag.
I mean, I've seen people with the flag face mask now. Or the flag. Right. But like you're breathing your germs.
Right. Right. Then that's fine. But him kneeling. Now the NFL came back and Roger Goodell is out there. And Roger Goodell.
You know what? Black Twitter is the funniest thing.
Black Twitter, thank God.
I mean, they're detectives, comedians, content creators, like everything. I felt like he would have been a bigger person if he would said something to Colin Kaepernick. But I don't know if there's any legal things or something in their settlement that precludes him from or whatever.
You cannot sit there and apologize for people protesting peacefully when you find players, you find the teams for doing it.
Are they giving that money back?
Yeah,
probably not.
Probably not. And you did all of that and you ended a person's professional career.
Yeah.
You ended it.
Yep, blackballed him, everything.
You can't come back and apologize without bringing that man's name up.
Right. Again, I'm not making excuses for Roger Goodell. I think regardless of whatever's in their settlement,
figure it out.
But something should have been said. There should have been a workout the next day with all 32 teams.
100%.
I'm actually curious because Jerry Jones runs everything. I think Jerry Jones runs everything. I want to see what happens when they kneel when someone on the Cowboys kneel.
Yeah,
that's what I want because I think Jerry Jones has been kind of quiet. I know the Cowboys released something and said they've always been whatever, but Jerry Jones is a wildly he's super racist.
Yeah.
And I'm curious of what he says. It ain't Roger Goodell because he works for the owner.
He works for the owners, right? And there's only certain stuff he can do. But I do,
and like 30 of them are they're not with it. So
right. But I think for any team, just like Lindsey Graham, for any team that says we'll take Cap, I mean through the roof. More people at the games, more sales, more everything.
Look what they did to Mike Vick. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation.
Lord.
But when he came back, the dude won comeback player of the year.
100%.
And he was like on the bench the whole time.
100%.
Only played when people got hurt, but like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just wildly unfair. And it's just, again, one of those things where it's like when we tell you these things, we need you to listen. We really need you to understand.
Because it was peaceful then. Colin wasn't doing anything. It was peaceful then and just no one listened.
And when they asked him about it, he said exactly what it was about.
Yes. Yeah. He answered the question
straight up,
right? But you just didn't want that answer, and you made it
it made it something completely else.
The president of the United States took that, and that was a really big part of his campaign and him running.
Of course, I mean the strongest thing you can do in politics is vilify the black man.
Yeah.
George H.W. Bush became president because of Willie Floyd when he vilified him and had him all over TV screens and things like that. You vilify a black face and you can good to go.
And do you think there's two Americas? Do you think there's one America that says, "Hey, I'm with everybody. You love who you love, and don't kill people. Justice. We actually really need real justice. Not everyone paying off lawyers, judges, and all this stuff, and people live in harmony." And there's another America that just says, like, I'm seeing like all this xenophobia. People just telling Asian people and Muslims to go back to where they came from. We don't want you here. Like that's here. That's like here.
Which is crazy. And I tell people all the time. I'll say, "Oh, you want me to go back to St. Louis?"
Yeah. Where you want? I don't understand.
Yeah, right.
But like people are upset and angry, and you see those videos on social, and they're just people just like, "What? I'm just here." Like, "Oh, there's a black man here, and he's hurting."
That was horrifying too. That was horrifying. Hearing that lady amplify her voice to simulate fear of real danger.
Right.
That's also something that's horrifying because if we are told that's what happens.
If he had gotten killed, you killed him.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
And you used the state to do it. Right.
You just hired a hitman with your voice. They were like, because they don't come in saying what's going on. They come in shooting to kill.
They come in very aggressive. They come in with their minds made up. They come,
they're not coming to shoot you in the leg.
Right.
They only shoot to kill, and they're not asking questions. Yeah. And so for her to do that is like,
horrifying.
It's unbelievable.
Is there two Americas? I would say yes and no. Yes, because I when I hear that question, I like to think of it as terms as wages and and wealth. And I think because of the wealth gap is so huge right now that there are two Americas, and you tend to have those that the haves are the ones that push a lot of the negative things that keep poor folk down. And I think when you talk about, I say no because you have Black America, you have White America, you have Asian. So many people are experiencing so many different things all at once, which is supposed to be the strength of
this
America,
whole thing,
right? Of America. I think we need to tackle those social ills, especially when it comes to the wage gap, the gender pay gap, all of those things. We need to tackle that on that standpoint. But because we're so hyper partisan right now and so laser focused on like one or two things instead of really taking care of what's important, we're going to continue to see those things increase while we're fighting for, equality. But, it can't just be police brutality. It has to be access to healthcare. It has to be
100%.
employment. It has to be ending the racial wealth gap. Like, I mean, when I say there's different gaps between,
right.
You can chalk it all up into like a tic-tac-toe box. You know, we got to tackle all of those issues all at once, and it's going to take a while. And I just need people to be patient. While people may be enamored with ending police brutality, which is great, we got to talk about all the other things that put our communities in some of these areas. Like,
you still don't have a job, and there's still no community center. Do you think?
You think about crimes of poverty, right? A lot of the policing issues comes because of crimes of poverty. Right, where if you don't have any money, you got to do? You got to feed your family.
What are you going to do? Because opportunity is everything.
Yeah.
And it's wild to me when I think globally about America. It's wild to me to think that Columbus and these people that came over stole this land, killed these people that were here before it was theirs, and now said, "Oh, this is ours."
Right.
And you can't be here.
Right. Exactly.
Like this isn't even yours.
Yeah, right, exactly.
How are you gonna steal some stuff and then tell somebody else they can't be here?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Right. And so I think even with the black American experience is that, we all go to the same schools and we're all educated the same way about the founding of America.
Right.
And the Constitution.
Right.
Your Bill of Rights.
Right.
But then as you grow up, it's not matching up. My experience isn't matching up with what it's supposed to be on paper. Right. MLK always said, I'm just trying to make you live up to what you say you are on this paper, on this document. And I think that's where a lot of that rage comes from, because it's like, no, I know how I'm supposed to be treated. Right. I know my history. I know that my descendants were brought over here, treated like absolute garbage, worked to death, brutalized.
To build this nation.
Right. To build this nation. And 400 years removed, 500 years removed, we're supposed to be free, but for some reason I'm still getting killed in the street. I'm being redlined. I don't have access to affordable housing.
I can't get that loan. I can't. Right.
Because of what I look like. Yeah. Right. And that's just wildly unfair, and it's not right, and it has to change, because what are we supposed to do? We're at the point now, it's like, what are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to go?
Right. We can't do it peacefully. Nothing's working. So what are we supposed to do? What do you want now?
Understand the anger.
Right.
Don't just just because I'm yelling or I'm upset or anything like that, that doesn't mean that there's not a purpose behind it. You listen with the goal of understanding why there's so much anger and pain in my voice when I'm speaking to you. We've been doing this for 60 years.
Right.
You had people on buses just driving into Southern territories, not really agitating folks, just, white folks, black folks on the bus, just driving into Southern and getting the buses blown up.
Right. Craziness.
It's like, again, even today, it's like, why is it that, you have those images from Michigan when they were, the right-wing folks were armed to the teeth into a state capitol building.
Yeah, with ARs, and they're this close away. They're yelling at the,
Nothing's happening to them. No one's getting beat up. There's no tear gas, no riot gear, anything like that. But you get a couple of hundred people out a couple of hundred black folks out in the street.
Forget about
riot gear. You got tear gas going off, rubber bullets, people getting concussions, all kinds of things.
I saw this Dave Chappelle bit. He's like, essentially, if you want everyone to get rid of these guns, just get a bunch of black people to register for guns.
Yes, and it's so funny. I actually
and that'll do it.
I'm actually going to get my concealed, because I don't really like guns. I feel like for black culture, like, we see guns as instruments of death, not protection or safety. Not a toy. Like, I'm not going out. I'm not going out into my backyard and just letting off some rounds. Like that's not happening, right? We have a whole saying. It's like, if you pull it out, you better use it, right?
100%.
So for me, I'm going to get one. But then what I want to do is actually have a protest.
Yeah,
lead a march, because Florida is an open carry state, and have hundreds of black men and women.
It'll get changed right up. It'll get changed right up.
We'll stop school shootings.
Yeah, and you're a teacher, and so and people. What do you think? People saying like, "Oh, teachers should have guns in the classroom and all this stuff."
Yeah, I don't want guns in the classroom because one, you could possibly be putting an instrument in there for someone to find or use. I don't care if it's locked, whatever. You never know, right? You just never know. I also think that you could have issues where a black student who expresses themselves in a different way from another student could be shot by a teacher.
Yeah,
and I think that would be even more tragic.
Or you could have some Muslim kid or somebody who's black or brown get blamed for something that happened and they didn't even do it.
Right,
but
exactly.
But your gun is missing and
right. And it's funny. I asked because I teach government classes, I asked my students, I said, why would you want guns in the classroom? Have you ever had one of those teachers that say, who said that? You want them pointing a gun at when they say that? Like, who's
right?
It's just, I don't think that's the answer. You don't add more. Like, it's like, hey, we got an issue with crack. You know what? Let's put more crack.
Yeah, let's put crack in the school.
More into it. Like, you don't add the problem into it.
That's such a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, I think you don't add more. You take away.
Are you gonna keep this political thing going? You're gonna run for president?
Well, I'm 32, so I'm not old enough yet. I want to go as far as I can go, as far as God will let me go. This was a conversation between God and myself when I got involved into politics because I felt I wasn't moving the way I wanted to move. I didn't feel like I was giving what I could give and getting back what I should. And so, we put this plan together. And, however far I can go, that's where I want to go. It's all about timing. It's all about what's the best decision for my family. I could have run for mayor this time around, but I decided not to. Right. I liked where I was. And I'm glad I'm not running for office right now because that puts you in a weird place when you're a candidate. Because I'm not running for office, I really am able to really hold my ground and really be vocal. Right. Which is sad to say because even if I'm a candidate, I should be that way. But it's like,
then it's like,
if I'm not in the seat, I can't help.
Right.
So. However far I can go, man. I'm excited. I've always been fascinated about the government process and political process, and I just want to experience things. Right, when you're on your deathbed, you have to have a life full of experiences, not material things. Right, and so for me, I want to just see how far I can go, what I can see, where it takes me, who I interact with. I love the world, so I hope one day I'm in a position where I get to interact with other world leaders. Whatever shape, form or capacity. Because it's just purely fascinating of the things that we can do. I mean, you really can change things in this position, and so I'm excited for the future. I don't know what it holds, but I know I've put myself in a really good position.
What I just think too, even on a local level, just your face and just who you are is just inspiring to other people too to get involved in their own way. So I think that's really awesome. As I look at the country globally, this has brought up some people are, Minneapolis is taking down their police force and people are doing other things. I saw NASCAR say they're banning Confederate flags. I'm like,
that was why I'm like, all the homies, we need to watch them 500 laps.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Daytona. I don't really,
I can't believe
it might be boring, but guess what? I'm going to give them my dollars.
Yeah.
The one thing that's always been powerful about black folks is our dollar. We spend money,
we'll
right?
spend money.
Listen, we need to go ahead and I'm going to go give me a jacket.
I know. I know. Danica Patrick, here I come.
Right,
But you got in Confederate statues, there is stuff happening.
Yeah, it's a complete uprising against racism.
racism,
there's no room for that anymore. That's done. That's the old order. That's over. The one thing I am a little hesitant about, and I was thinking about it on the way here, is that the current president is having his first rally in Tulsa, on Juneteenth.
Yeah, 100%.
Right where the Greenwood Massacre was.
Yep. 100%.
And what I'm afraid of is he gets on there, does his thing, and obliterates what we've all been doing these last 2 or 3 weeks.
That's the sad part because the
media's going to cover it.
Media's going to cover it. His base is going to come out. Mm-hmm. And I guess my thought when I think about the election and being able to take this momentum there, we are going to have to. I think his base is tapped out. He's going to get his 46%, whatever, if it's 48%.
30. No, it's 30.
Is it 30%?
His base is 30.
He's going to get his base.
But you always think about the silent majority. That's who scares me.
Yeah, so he's going to get his base, maybe a little bit more, maybe another bump, maybe up to 40. He's going to get it. They're all going to vote, like you said. Our base, though, in 2016, wasn't our whole base.
A lot of people said, I hate Hillary and all this stuff like that, but it's
Stop.
what has she done to your life?
Yeah, but and also like just global. You need to at some point you have to say I don't believe in that lesser of two evils. That Trump is worse than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Is Joe Biden Superman? No, but I don't. But I would rather someone in office like Joe Biden than I would Donald Trump.
Well, but listen, what we really need to talk about with this upcoming election is not just Joe Biden, but it's like, if Joe Biden's there, who does Joe Biden hire? Who's his
100%.
attorney general?
100%.
What judges does he appoint? Right?
Supreme Court.
Ruth
all that.
Bader Ginsburg is holding on for
dear
life
right.
until
Right.
She said, "Look, I'm here." That lady is probably going to die the day after the election.
Right.
Because she's like, "I'm holding on,
on to this seat," and all the doctors trying to keep her. Yeah, but
she probably a bionic woman at this point. But it's like, all these other things are just as important or more important than the person actually sitting in the Oval Office.
Look at the scandals around him.
Mm-hmm.
Look how many people, and then they're getting Michael Flynn out, and all just such scandals with the people around him, not necessarily even him. So I think people. I'm praying that our base actually comes out, because if our base comes out, they don't have a shot.
And my thing is, what he's the current president is a very petty person, right? What could be more petty for all of us to give to him to send him packing? Like, just think about that. Like, you get to literally be like Nelson from The Simpsons, be like, ha ha,
and he would hate it.
Yes,
and he would hate it.
He would seethe, and I think that should be one reason, right? Yeah. Out of many as to why people need to come out and vote. It's just like payback, right?
Yeah.
Payback.
Right, for all the things you said, all the things
he's attacked
you did.
every single group in this country except for white men.
Right, except for white men. Payback.
Every group. I just want us to be smart. I don't want us voting with our feelings. I just want us to be smart. I want us to have the best chance to make sure we get things through. And really, we're doing all this work right now, but it can be wiped out.
It can be wiped out,
especially in another 4 years.
Yeah, especially when he's going to start rallying and stuff, and we got to keep our momentum strong. Well, man, I am with you. I'm in your corner. I appreciate you coming on. You're about to have a baby.
Yeah, man. It's fun time in the middle of a pandemic. You're
about to have a baby in the middle of a pandemic.
Listen, man. This has been a wild time. Just professionally and personally. To go through all of this. I was talking to Beth earlier, and I said, our generation, man. Since the towers fell, we've been through some things.
We've been through some things.
And I should have. Who could have known at the beginning of the year this is where we would be 6 months in. 6 months in.
Crazy.
Right? And we still got a presidential election, right?
It's crazy.
You have literally I'll call it a race war. You have
for sure.
You have a global pandemic that's affecting brown and black folks more than any other racial group,
100%.
right? Which again goes back to all the other social economic issues. I just, I need us to move. I need us to move in a very smart, strategic way, and hopefully people are awake enough to make that happen. So I appreciate you having me today, man.
100%. Tell everyone where they can follow you and keep up with you.
Oh yeah, please. I'm on literally every social media platform. Just about. I don't have time for Snapchat, but you can find me on Instagram, Simmons in Springs on Instagram, Twitter, Simmons NCS, and I'm on Facebook. All pages are verified, so I'm the real deal.
There you go.
And just follow me, hang out, share posts, let me know, email me, or DM me, different things 100%. Like that. I'm very responsive to folks. I love to talk to people.
Boom. Well, thanks so much, Josh Simmons, everybody.
All right, thanks, man. Y'all have a good one. Yeah.